What a bunch of hogwash. I mean, really. An uncanny ability, though. She frames negatives as positives.
Well. Why can't we get any respite? I mean, how many new versions of Meghan Markle are we going to see? Wait, I heard you sneezing. Wait.
Sorry.
Well. Okay. Welcome to the new version of Meghan Markle, because it seems that she's always silenced. You know, the major clapback never ends. It's not repentant. She's defiant in the way she lies, guys. I mean, and Emma it's now regretting and admits that she was played because of the backlash. And we're going to show you how little traffic, whatever happened to the Meghan effect. So today, to break it down, I have Jennifer, and she's going to be joining us, and we're going to be laughing a little bit because, I mean, I have grown to believe that Meghan Markle believes her own lies. And Emma, how can she be so unprepared? If you're going to have a born liar, why not actually show her lies or, call her out? That would have been people would have loved to watch that podcast when you're like, wait a minute, what do you mean this and that happened? Oh, Meghan, can you explain this? No, she missed an opportunity. And I would like to take this chance to tell you guys that I do have an amazing interview, a world exclusive on Sunday. So buckle up, because we're going to have a real Duchess in the house. And without any more boring talk, hi, Jen. How are you, sweetie?
Hi. I am so good. How are you, Miss Paula?
I am doing very well. How was your vacation?
It was wonderful. I got a notice about a twerking video, which I watched and then promptly ignored.
Oh my God. It's like Meghan Markle is the gift that keeps on giving. And it's got to be said, she's persistent. But you know what? Every time she does a podcast, right now she was going with a real Black woman, right? Who's British on top of that. Never heard of Emma Grede. But she's with the Kardashians. So we know now that Meghan Markle has sunk down to the level of an unknown associate to the Kardashians, because nobody knows of this lady. And she didn't get that very many subscribers, not very many views. What do you make of the Meghan effect?
I think that the Meghan effect was only in effect for 18 months when she was in the royal family. I think after that, it just really started to go down. And we can get into it, but I find she's such a walking contradiction, Paula, when she's talking about, she basically talks about, she wasn't in the when she was in the family, she didn't have a voice. So she used clothes to amplify the voice, but then because she wasn't making anything off of it, because remember, she said, I had no skin in the game, then that makes it okay somehow now to merch herself, merch her children, make any of this make sense. I always say that when we're talking about her, make this make sense.
So you don't think that this was a success? What do you think of this podcast? Good or bad?
Well, I have a post that I wrote immediately after I watched it. Can I read it to you?
Oh, don't ever ask me that. Just go ahead and do it.
I will read it. It said, looks like Meghan is back again, participating in the prove it game that she says she refuses to engage in. My opinion on this latest PR is that it's just another hug session of an interview. And of course I have to bring God in here. Continue to pray for this lost woman. This is simply 11th hour facade management. Yeah, this is 11th hour facade management. It's damage control at its finest. And at that point, when I wrote it, people were saying in the comments that they were deleting negative comments almost as fast as they were popping up. But now I've noticed this morning that they cannot keep up. And then I said, there is no self-introspection. There's no accountability from this woman. She continues to exist outside of the bounds of reality, right? She's displaying her failures and continuing disrespect of both their families as a win, which is truly disgusting. I don't buy it. She's lost the last bit of credibility she had. And now the image that she's promoting is some type of empowered, real, authentic entrepreneur. You'll notice in that interview, she used the word organic and entrepreneur probably 50 bajillion times. Yeah. And I said, her goal is simple now. Anyone who criticizes that vulgaric video, that twerk, is that a word, vulgaric, or that vulgar video? Anyone that criticizes it now is not a supporter of women, of mothers. They're just haters. And so I said, we're not stupid. We have ears, we have eyes, we have brains, we have hearts, we have souls. We watch this and we know something is wrong. We're not buying it. Something's very wrong here with this woman.
Well, the takeaway that I got from that was that she's telling everybody, I just got started. Nobody can stop me. I love where I am. And there's a few telling moments that we're going to talk about because she has quite a few mask slips. And to me, this was a video, in spite of the fact that she's sitting there. Because why isn't she doing Oprah podcast? Why did she go to J. McKern Lima? She has to pay her dues. Because she's the Duchess. Why not start with Oprah? Because Oprah's not willing to sacrifice her credibility anymore.
You know, I really want to understand where you got the entrepreneurial bug. Did you have, you know, like business owners or founders in your family? Where does it come from?
Oh, goodness. My grandfather on my mom's side, he used to have an antique store. And I would always be oftentimes after school with him, helping with his antiques and watching what it's like to, you know, just be in business and also customer service. And then there was a show called Married with Children. Do you remember that
Seen it?
show?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I grew up on the set of Married with Children every day after school for 10 years. I was there.
Wow.
I know.
So, I mean, and that's just the first lie. We're just getting off on the first thing. What I mean.
Well, not only that, Paula, look at the woman in that video. That video is at least, 10 years old, if not a little bit more. She's a completely different person. Did you notice the voice inflections, the way she's sitting, the way she's carrying herself? She's completely different. She's almost posing as if someone that wants to date this guy.
But we're seeing right now the narrative that she's putting. And this is just starting the podcast. I mean,
and it's rewriting history for sure. For sure.
No, but the thing is, like, she can't rewrite it because there's just so many public interviews. And this is one of the things that tells me that the shamelessness and the emboldened, this woman feels emboldened to lie because she hasn't been stopped.
Yeah.
And she feels empowered to lie because nobody, the press, this is a clapback at Vanity Fair. This is like still taking dicks at the royal family. This is flaunting her lies. And so what?
And here's the thing, Paula, she can say whatever she wants, right? She can cherry pick any memory, anything. Did she probably see her grandfather? Sure. Maybe a handful of times. Who knows? But she cherry picks things. She presents them as fact. And she's never seen sitting down with someone who's going to ask her a real hard question that will make her explain herself, that will make her explain the contradiction after contradiction that we've been, subjected to over the years. So for her, it doesn't really matter that she's throwing out a half truth, a fib, a miss, whatever, because she's never going to be called out on it. I mean, yeah, we're going to sit here and talk about it and we're going to bring receipts, but she's never going to sit down with someone who's going to actually say, there's been several accounts of your childhood. Could you explain to us exactly how much time you spent with your mother versus your father? Because there's a lot of people that are talking about that. Is that something that you want to clarify? She'll never get asked a question like that. It's ridiculous.
Well, no. And this interview, Emma Grede, whatever her name is, this was pre-approved. The questions were pre-approved, and she could not waver from the pre-approved questions.
Yep. Everything has to be vetted. Yep.
Everything has to be vetted. And we can see sometimes when the mask slips, for Meghan Markle. So it's if people think that would have been a perfect occasion for this Emma lady to say, wait a minute, Meghan, can you clarify?
Yeah.
Because in pretty much every interview, the TIG and everything, you've been saying that you spent every day for 10 years after school with your father on the set of Married with Children. So
and that's where she got the acting bug, right? That's very important.
But I'm still never willing to sacrifice or compromise on the quality and to take my time. Someone else's urgency is not my urgency.
Damn right.
There's so much to unpack just in that clip, Paula. The first thing that came to my mind too, again, this woman is the epitome of wealth and privilege. She's been given chance after chance after chance that normal business owners and entrepreneurs, people that want to build something, many of them will never be afforded any of those chances, not even one of the 50 million that she's been given in her lifetime. And did you notice how she said that Netflix has usually in the past partnered with shows and producers of those shows that were already popular, like say the Stranger Things or the Bridgerton. So it was an idea that was already kind of in the public's consciousness that they could take and they could market. Whereas hers, like she hadn't built it yet. And I'm thinking to myself, that makes it even worse. That makes it even worse. That makes it so that you should account for yourself and tell us if they're giving you chances like that. Even with that, why are you not performing? And she's not being honest. She's not being honest. She hasn't told us how many units she sold. She's fascinated with the word SKU, but okay, give us more. Yeah, we all know you have SKUs, but how many units did you have to sell? Maybe we could learn something from that. She gives us, it's all these surface platitudes. It's just floating. And all the toxic waste is underneath, which is what we want to get into. We want to find out, and she won't tell us. So when she talks about how Netflix took a gamble on her, even though she didn't really have a brand identity yet, for me, that makes it all the more worse, all the harder to digest, so to speak, because it's like, then why are you being given all these chances? Why? You know?
The only reason why Meghan Markle is on Netflix and they're giving her
because
all
of her
this,
title.
because of her husband's title. She herself doesn't have a title. She gets
Correct.
to use her husband's title and her ties with the royal family. And because Ted Sarando's got an OBE, you know, that is the only reason that she omits to say. And then what's her name doesn't ask her, why do you think they're giving you this opportunity?
Right. Because she has to justify her existence in that answer, and she can't answer it. I mean, she can answer it, but she doesn't want to answer it because it doesn't sound good. It doesn't look good. It's going to admit an inconvenient truth that she doesn't want addressed,
which is that she's nobody without the royal family.
We should start calling her Princess Henry. That would be great.
No, I think we should call her.
She would hate that.
No, I don't want to call her princess. You know that she does tell people to address her as Her Royal Highness Princess Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. Because she's a princess in her own right, according to her, you know, because she even says, I've been a princess, I've been this. No, you've never been a princess.
Really thinking about that, because obviously the brand will live in between the show. It's going to live while the show, you know, if the show doesn't continue, it will just, you know, I'm assuming that the brand just continues to grow. So how are you actually thinking about that partnership? Because I know when I started, that initial partnership that you do in business, you know, you can get it really right, you can get it really wrong. God knows I got it wrong enough times. Oh my good. Yeah, because you know what? Certainly for me, there was such a sense of desperation to just get something done that the first person that was like, hey, we believe in you. I was like, great, me too, let's go. And there were parts of it that were good. And
when she said desperate, did you see her face? She didn't like that. She doesn't want desperation equated with her brand. And Emma's at least being real in that moment, saying when Emma was trying to get backing and trying to get help and whatever, she was a bit desperate to partner with anyone that would agree to believe in her idea and fund her. And when she used that word desperate, you can immediately see her, because that is also one of her tells. She always says, oh, how interesting. That might have been true for you, but it's definitely not true for me. Remember how you were driving home the point that it's her timeline, right? She's not going to be rushed by anybody, not even Netflix. So if that's the case, why was there such a mad rush on all fronts? The podcast, as ever, with Love Meghan. Why didn't she take it slow? Why didn't she really, really produce a show with Netflix that would really offer the audience something beyond rebagging pretzels and making burn your skin off bath salts? Face it, Paula, the way that she acts as a duchess. I mean, you and I might as well be one too. Everyone can be a duchess, right? Anyone with a phone that can film themselves twerking, or we can all be a duchess.
Yes.
So what does that partnership actually look like right now?
Well, I think at the end of the day, what I appreciate is in the contract, they understand that this is my vision.
Mm-hmm.
It's my vision. And also the success of the brand, I believe, is rooted in the fact that you can feel when I am involved in something. And so because I have been in this state of ideation of what I wanted to have as an offering for so long, the fact that they trust my final judgment is great on what I want to put out there. But equally, one of the things I've said from the onset, I love being part of the creative process. It's important to me. And you have me and the profile and all of the attention that brings as well. You have the two of us together. Yes, it's an incredible partnership with a lot of, I'm proud of them. They've got a lot of clout behind them.
Yes.
And at the same time, we're still a startup.
Yeah. You're still a startup.
We're a startup.
It doesn't matter.
It does
that
not
mentality
matter.
is so important, I think. Like
Still a
to
startup.
have that there and to know it doesn't matter. Like every single customer, every interaction really counts. And it's often that unsexy stuff that is the stuff that really impacts the customer as well. It's like, how quickly are they getting their delivery? How much can they rely on your site? Like, is what they order what they get in the package?
Yes.
So it matters.
It all matters. And also just the customer service experience. That is your one-on-one interaction.
But she really needs to rethink about how she's positioning herself in this genre. She is not a normal business entrepreneur. She is privileged. She is wealthy. She is using her husband's title. So on one hand, she's trying to portray herself as a startup. She's learning as she goes, please give her grace to learn and, all this. But then she's also throwing in our face that, I've been partnering with Netflix for 5 years. I've had a relationship with them for 5 years. Well, be honest with us. Why do you have a relationship with them? Because of your wealth and because of your privilege and because of your husband's title. There are these two conflicting narratives that do not work. She did that also in her Confessions podcast. She would constantly remind the audience, I'm in building. I'm just, in my ideation phase. That's also a real tell that she's very insecure about how the business is playing out because people are smart or savvy. We are watching and we are scrutinizing. And then did you also notice when Emma said, well, how do you feel? Do you feel that it's this level of scrutiny or whatever she had said? And she was like, oh, it's such a blessing. She's always trying to reframe all the negatives as a positive, when in all actuality, if she wants to start being likable, she could have said something to the effect of, yes, I know I've been getting a ton of scrutiny and I've been making mistakes, or it never dawns on her to think, why is she getting that scrutiny? Maybe people have valid points about everything that they're witnessing play out. This doesn't seem like she has a serious business here. It seems like she's just playing with her husband's money and she's just trying to amuse herself. I mean, I have no idea what she's trying to accomplish. I mean, she says later that she wants to build a legacy brand. I don't see ever as being a legacy brand, especially if you can't restock within weeks or days of it selling out. How serious are you about building a legacy brand? And you shouldn't be wanting to add more SKUs. She's talking about more SKUs. And I'm like, I said it in one of my videos probably about 2 months ago. I said, you cannot tell me in her heart of hearts when she was dreaming about world domination, it all was about jam with little cloth hats on it. Okay. No.
Sprinkles. Flour sprinkles.
Yeah. Flour sprinkles.
But it's not jam, it's a spread, remember?
Yes. And she keeps saying jam. That's another thing. How intimate and into the details are you with your own products if you're not even labeling it and speaking of it correctly? It's a spread. To me, it looked like a freaking sauce, if you want to be honest.
Part of you that feels any sense of imposter syndrome? Do you ever sit back and get overwhelmed by how big the opportunity is and then, pedal back from anything that might be?
I don't. I think I have. I think that I've always had a very entrepreneurial spirit, as we talked about, but equally, I enjoy being in a position of having a strong team around me, being able to help guide that team as a whole. And I've also, in the adventures of my life, I have certainly navigated through things that can in some ways feel bigger.
Yeah.
So this for me is just another chapter that I think is full of, I'm a very curious person, new learns. I love learning something new all the time. I don't feel imposter syndrome. I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now.
Yay.
Okay. I think that Meghan doesn't understand the meaning of the word, what imposter syndrome means. And this is what it means, guys. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's a psychological pattern where individuals doubt their accomplishments and have a persistent, often intense fear of being exposed as a fraud, despite evidence of their competence and success. So in order for Meghan to feel imposter syndrome, she would need to have achieved a high level of success and be very competent, which she's not. I think that she misunderstood it as though you impersonating somebody else, that's because if not, she would have understood that she has just been called a successful person.
Well, she just heard the first word, imposter, which she does not want to be associated with. So that's why she has to poo-poo it and say, no, I've never felt that. She's not really thinking it through. But also some people that are very self-effacing will say, I felt like a little bit of an imposter. For example, when you start up a YouTube channel, I mean, I know I felt this, I'm sure you do. You start making videos, you start putting things out there and you're thinking, who the hell's going to want to watch me talk? Really? Even though I've had so many people in my life say, Jennifer, you should have a channel or something because you just talk, are always talking about something. I mean, even if she came out and said, I do have self-doubt. Yeah. I'm saying she's so afraid to just, that's actually real authenticity to say, I have self-doubt, to say, will anyone want to even buy this? I say that how many other successful entrepreneurs and business owners out there who started out being known for one thing exclusively, and then they had to prove themselves in another capacity when they were developing their products, right? She could have even have said that. She could have even have said, I know what, everything that I've been through with the royal family, all the controversies, but now I have to prove myself in a different capacity. And that's what I'm dedicated to. I'm dedicated to that. She can't even say that. And remember when she said that, she said she doesn't have regrets. She has regrets, but don't forget people like her. I believe she's a narcissist. Narcissists lie to everyone else, but the person that they lie to most is themselves. They are trying to nurture and protect this false, cracked self-image that they have. That's why they're constantly projecting. That's why they constantly have to maintain these facades. That's why they get so angry when people criticize them. It's because it's attacking their own cracked and already fragile sense of self-worth. Because think about it, narcissists don't have self-worth. If they did, she wouldn't be engaging in the prove it game all the time. She knows that people are saying that she's in the prove it game. That's why she mentioned that to Jamie Kern, right? But she participates in it constantly because the narcissistic urges in her cannot let that stand. If there's any type of criticism, she has to address it. She has to.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, that's very interesting. Again, it's that imposter syndrome. That would have been a perfect time for her to be humble and say, yes, I actually do sometimes, because I am fully aware that I've been privileged because I married with my husband's, when I married my husband, I got access to an instant massive platform that on my own probably I would have never gotten. So I am very grateful for that.
And not only that,
you could have said something nice because it's true.
Yep. And not only that, Paula, but she's gone back on everything. She was going to hit the ground running. She was going to be working for the Commonwealth. She was going to uphold the values of Her late Majesty's love for the Commonwealth. I mean, the Commonwealth was her late Majesty's baby. That was her life's work. She was going to be vice president. She was going to do all these things. So she's gone back on that. That is just a faded thing that's now a dumpster fire, right? So
that's another lie.
Yeah.
So you see, she can't even admit that the only reason, because let's face it, the only reason the entire world knows about her, and we're talking about her, is because who she married. And the platform that family gave her, for better or for worse, she got access to that platform. And the only thing she's done is trash it. And to me, it is incredible that Emma has lost all street cred or any credibility by not calling that out, by even saying, but wait a minute, don't you think that, marrying into the royal family gave you access to more, to a platform that you would have not had access to on your own?
Imposter syndrome is when you're posturing as though you know everything. You don't need to posture as though you know everything. It is perfectly okay for me as the founder and the owner of this company to say,
people that have imposter syndrome, Paula, they're paralyzed by their insecurities and by their own indecision. You
but
know?
then again, she didn't. This is reaffirms that she doesn't know what imposter syndrome is, because imposter syndrome is when as a very incredibly successful person feels they
Yes.
don't deserve that. It's not that they don't know.
And they're constantly second guessing themselves, even though they
Yes.
are competent. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole idea of him, and this is even her ignorance is showing, because she's saying that imposter syndrome is when you're afraid to say you don't know. No, imposter syndrome literally means that you are an incredibly, let's say Bill Gates, let's say Jeff Bezos, let's say, well, I don't know, whoever it is that Steve Jobs, who are creative genius, who they feel that they don't deserve or that they're not doing it well enough. That's what it means, that you're an incredible, successful person, but you don't believe that you are. So Meghan Markle clearly, I mean, her ignorance is beyond the pale. And the fact that Emma didn't correct that and say, no, Meghan, actually what it means that you're an incredible, successful person and you feel that you don't deserve that success for whatever reason, and you second guess your decisions. It's not what it means. It's not that you don't know everything. It's that you are successful, but you don't feel that you've earned it, or that you're good at it, or you're still doubting yourself. That's what it means.
Yeah, that's part of the beauty of it. I can see that in the culture that you've created around here. You have an incredible team. You take care of your team. That is all reflected in your success because it takes a village. It really does.
It takes a bit.
Do you have the latest count, Paula, how many team members she's lost? Just in the last 2 years?
Oh, in the last 6. Well, without counting the 28 producers, because the reason why she lost that, is about 31, I think, and she just lost 6 from the ones she just hired in April.
Well, how out of touch, though, even just listening to this, it's just your eyes are rolling in the back of your head. I mean, I read a little bit about Emma. She came from a little bit of money and she married into money. Just like Meghan, these women that are putting on these entrepreneurial business / podcasts are so out of touch. I'm not learning anything from these people. Most people are never going to have a team behind them. She started with a team. She started with Netflix. She's so privileged, but she's constantly posturing as someone that's so down to earth and authentic. And, this is just her baby. That's a little pot that she's bubbling over in her stove. Like, which one are you, Meghan? I don't understand. This is
not only that, at the same time, it's like, Netflix is not going to tell me what to do. It's like their urgency. It's not my timeline. It's like I'm the queen of bees.
A lot happening. Do you work with the same team and then things get farmed out, or is it very, very separate, each and every little thing you do between, the show and, your philanthropic efforts and then the brand now?
Yes. Well, I have a small and mighty team for my office. And then I think obviously our foundation is independent of that, but those are the same executive directors we've had for a very long time who run it beautifully. And then you look at with Netflix, they have an entire team that they've devoted to this project specifically, being As Ever. Separate team for With Love Meghan. That's a crew of about 80 people.
It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
So there's a lot of different teams. And at the same time, my core team that sits around me for all of the projects is, very, very strong, savvy women.
Okay. So she talks about her team. I mean, this is another big lie because, Emma asked her about her team. Do you have the same team? She just liked there because she has changed. There's such a high overturn of team. Netflix
she said she had a foundation that's been with her for how long did she say? She has a foundation. Same people.
No, it's not true.
Her executive directors, she called them. See, this is what I'm talking about. What is she talking about? Can you just talk like a normal person? Why don't you just say, I've got a secretary who's my right-hand person. I've got a PR. Like, stop. It's all surface level. I have executive directors. Well, yeah, guess what? I'm the executive director of my home, Paula. I run my home. I'm the executive director. I'm the executive director in my home school and in my home. I mean, talk like a normal person. What is that supposed to mean, Meghan? And what am I supposed to be learning from you right now? As my 12-year-olds say, Meghan's always flexing. Like all she does is flex about how privileged and wonderful she is. But then at the same time, she's trying to be humble and down to earth. But if she had a stable team that had been working with her from the beginning, that she could be honest with and they could be honest with her, we would be looking at a completely different public persona regarding this woman. She cannot humble herself to take business advice from anybody, even seasoned industry professionals. That's evident. She might have a team, Paula, but she doesn't listen to anybody on her team. I always think of her and Harry sitting at that table, when they have that shared table that they have with their laptop side by side. That's what I think of. She's ground zero, and it's all the Meghan show. So it doesn't matter who's advising her, who's on her team. That's why the messaging has been so inconsistent over these years. That's why the persona is constantly changing. Are you a duchess? Are you a humanitarian? Are you a podcaster? Are you a lifestyle guru? Are you an investor in female-founded businesses? What are you?
Well,
nobody knows.
I think that the reason why, and this is just my opinion, the reason why she's laundering so much is because she doesn't want to admit. I mean, she's been introduced. How was she introduced? As Rachel Meghan Markle or Meghan Duchess of Sussex? Exactly. The Duchess of Sussex. So this is what her failure is. The fact that she doesn't want to admit or be grateful for the fact that it's that title that it's opening doors for her, which is why you see inconsistency, because you know what? She should say, you know what? I am aware that the only reason why Netflix is talking to me right now is not because I'm talented, I'm this and that, is because I am using a royal title.
Yes.
If she were to come out and say, I am fully aware that I'm not talented, I never succeeded as an actress, I am even bad at this because the jam is not really jamming, it's now a spread, but I am fully aware that the only reason and the only value I have to bring to the table is a royal title, which is, it's a branded itself, the title. People, she wouldn't have so many problems with identity, but the fact is that she in her arrogance, she refuses to admit that her only value, the only thing she has to bring to the table, and the only reason why certain people are still talking to her is because she still has that title.
You really hit it, Paula. You have really hit it. And building upon your great points just now, when have you ever heard her say, a title bestowed upon me by her wonderful, gracious late majesty, a trailblazer of a woman, beloved. Everybody loved the queen because she was out there doing her duty from day one. You remember that very famous speech she gave when she was in Africa? Her whole life, the whole of her life will be dedicated to service. She is the personification of dignity, grace, service. That was a title that was gifted to her. And it was only gifted to her because Queen Elizabeth loved, yes, I was going to say, it was only gifted to her because Her Majesty loved Harry. And that was a woman that he chose. Okay, she was gonna do it. But when has she ever celebrated the queen and the queen's accomplishments? She's so into female empowerment. When have you ever heard her say anything nice or gracious about the queen? I've almost never heard anything. Maybe when they were kind of just saying, oh, she's nice. And remember how she always referred to her as Harry's grandmother? That really irked me. That is extremely disrespectful. But I find it very odd that you never hear her speaking of Her late majesty in any really great uplifting type of way. And that's curious considering that you named your daughter after a stolen nickname from her.
This is why she's failing so badly, because of her failure to say thank you to her wonderful, to that when I married my husband, I got instant access to a platform. And I do understand that people want to be associated with me because of the royal title, because of the ties that still has with the royal family, which is the most powerful family. She doesn't want to admit that because then that is not an accomplishment of her. That is an admission that she's a nobody without it.
And, constantly every waking hour trashing the institution that she's still desperately trying to cling to because it's the only thing that gives her relevance and she knows it. Yep. What did you think of that article that came out last week? I forget the publication, you probably know, when they were basically testing the water, saying that they wanted their children to be able to determine for themselves whether they wanted to serve as full-time working royals. Did you get that one? Did you see that one?
Yeah, but then again, that's Meghan Markle letting the public believe or
Yep.
Harry that, oh, it's up to us. Just like right now, she's saying with Netflix,
Mhm.
I'm proud of Netflix. Who is Meghan Markle to be proud of Netflix?
Proud of Netflix. Yeah.
So she's the
Yeah.
queen. I'm proud of you, Netflix. Well done, Netflix. It's like she's given her royal approval. It's
But
like
not, yeah.
it is insane.
But not only that, but think about it too. If that were true, if it was up to them, right? Why
Not
would
up
you
to them.
want to? Yeah, I know, but that's what she wants us to believe by releasing something like that. So even if that were true, let's play devil's advocate here. Why would you want to throw your children back into an institution that was so debilitating to your mental health and to unalive yourself? And not only that, but they have to have some measure of, understanding of what goes on over there. What are the traditions? What is it like to work there? You're going to take children that were born and raised, or sorry, not Archie, not born in the US, but for all, they're being raised as Americans full time in America. They don't know what it's like to live as a British person. They have no idea. Why would you just oh yeah, so what's happened? What are they going to do? Do like a 2-week intensive charm school if they decided that they wanted to go back and be a full-time working royal? They would have had no exposure whatsoever to what the daily ins and outs, duties and responsibilities are.
Everything sells out in 45 minutes. You don't necessarily get the same
You have nothing.
alerts. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
So now as
Okay,
we
minute
scale
number
up-
5, this was tracking. Yeah, it tells you nothing. It's hard to learn from your business when it's like that. But really good problems to have, I
Good
think.
problems to have, champagne problems, as they call them.
Absolutely,
and,
they are.
The world is learning with me in real time. We're learning together.
There are so many comparisons right now, right? It's like people are saying you're the next Martha Stewart, you're the next Gwyneth Paltrow. So 2 questions. How do you feel about that?
What a bunch of hogwash. I mean, really. It's an uncanny ability, though. She frames negatives as positives and positives as negatives. It's really weird. What entrepreneur isn't going to be over the moon that they sold out? She can't even admit that to the audience. She can't even say, I was thrilled it sold out. Now I'm going to do my damnedest to get it back into stock as soon as I possibly can. And I don't really believe that there's a big segment of the population out there clamoring for her spread. I really don't. But even that tiny little minuscule audience that she does have that would buy from her, she's already letting them down by being so, it's absent. Where are the products?
And the comparison, when she's compared to Martha Stewart, nobody's comparing her to Martha Stewart or
I have
Gwyneth
not heard
Paltrow.
that. No.
Nobody's saying that she is like Martha Stewart or Gwyneth Paltrow. People saying that she wants to be, not that she is like. You understand that? You see the difference? She's a wannabe.
Martha had backlash over the years and dealt with it. Martha went to prison, for goodness sake, and look how she's come out the other side. She's, So she's not relatable. She cannot relate to people. She speaks in this weird, nonsensical salad mishmash of a mess. Just be honest. Just be real. Just tell us, because we're dying to know, why didn't you have stock almost immediately? Why are you framing a sellout as something that's negative and something that she didn't? It's so weird to me.
Think about the failure rate for first-time entrepreneurs. Does that ever concern you? Have you even let your mind go there?
I do not think about failing. No.
You're not scared of failing.
Is anything actually a failure ultimately? Because you're going to learn from it no matter what happens. But no, I feel confident in what I've been dreaming up for so long. I feel confident in the partner that I have. And I feel really proud of the team that I have. So that's not an option.
It's what normal human being that walks the earth wouldn't say that at one point in their life they feared failure. And even more to that, if you've invested your heart, soul, money into a business, that is compounded. Of course, you're afraid of failing. But I guess, again, like you said, if you're playing with other people's money, it doesn't really matter if you fail or not. But of course, any astute business person is going to want to figure out what's going wrong, what's going right, because a lot of people are scraping money, getting one business loan from a bank. That's their one shot. Or they're borrowing money from friends and family that believe in them, that they could take that and run with it. And they've got one shot, one time to prove themselves. She gets infinite amounts of opportunities. She's just, it isn't really a big deal to her, I guess. She's showing her arrogance in saying this, that she's not scared of failure. She wants so desperately to be seen as authentic, yet she's not going to admit a very honest, real human worry, the fear of failure. So she's just contradicting herself on so many points, talking out both sides of her mouth. So I guess if you're a duchess playing with other people's money, you don't care. And if you're a narcissist who can't be told anything, then I guess you wouldn't be addressing failure or seeing that as a possibility, because she can just make a mess and someone else can go in and clean it up.
Well, they have so far in her entire life. But I think that what she's missing, and again, we go by omission, is like, as long as I have a royal title, I won't fail. That is the key thing of this entire podcast, because she doesn't want to own up that the identity that she has and what she's trading on, and the only thing people are interested in is that she has a royal title and the possible links to the royal family. And that's what she's trading on. This is why her brand is shit. And it's like crap, because she doesn't want to give credit where credit is due, which is, I am a success, not a success because she's a failure. She should be saying that I have failed at everything, but in spite of failing at everything, the only reason why I keep getting these chances is because I have the use of a royal title. That is the real truth of this woman.
But again, she probably also has another fallback plan, right? If they ever do get a divorce, she's going to make sure that she gets everything she can out of him. There was no prenuptial agreement signed, and she's flirted with that idea of, oh, remember, she has some more life to live before she writes her memoir, before she trashes everyone that's ever trashed her. She's going to write her own version of revenge.
Yeah, but this woman, what she doesn't understand is that she was in the royal family less than a year. She was barely in the UK, guys, for that year, because she got pregnant. She went on maternity leave and she was traveling all over the place. She barely spent any time in the United Kingdom. And the only time she spent in the United Kingdom is when she had to go on tours. After that, they would go somewhere else. She was most of the time in Canada, in California, in New York. She was traveling everywhere.
But how did she do that? She didn't have a passport. She didn't have her keys. Paula, what are you talking about? She didn't have her passport, Paula. She couldn't travel. What are you talking about?
That comes from your background as an actress?
Could be. I mean, yeah, when I was an auditioning actress, and this is well before Suits, you have to think at that time, there were certainly not a lot of mixed race parts.
Really?
No.
Really?
No, there weren't a lot of, if I was going in for an audition, it was either, you have to remember, this was a very different time than it is now. It was girl next door. That was typically blonde haired, blue eyed, and a certain look. But because I'm half white, I would also be submitted for those roles. And then if it was a character that had any sort of ethnicity, there was always a bit of a edge to those characters, but I'd be submitted for those roles. And I also, to a lot of people in casting, they thought I was Latina. So I share that because, and I've shared this before, it was a numbers game. If I'm only up for 10 parts, that could be 10 no's. But if I'm up for 30 parts, because I can fit into so many different rooms, that could be 30 no's.
Well, the thing is with the acting, though, the thing with the acting where she says that she used to go and she has self-doubt and they would portray her. And when Emma's saying, really, she's lying there. Back then, when she was, you had the Cosby Show, you had so many shows with black and white people.
That was even before the time she was auditioning. She is full of it. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. When I watched Sesame Street when I was a little kid, there were Asian kids on there, white kids on there, black kids on there. What is she talking about? And also the constant victim framing. How many out of work actors could look at that and say, at least you were up for 30. Yeah. I'm the white guy that was only up for 10. You got 30 and you're still complaining about it. See that's what she does. She takes positives and frames them as negatives, and negatives are framed as positives constantly. That's why she's a hamster on a wheel, and that's why she's getting nowhere.
No, but she's also saying that the reason why she didn't get the parts is because of her race. because she wasn't
Mhm.
blonde. There were no parts. Yes, there were.
Mhm.
There were
Mhm.
tons of parts. The black women, white women,
Mhm.
mixed race women. We
Yep.
can go back and back. The thing is that she doesn't want to admit. We go to blame and complain. It's like, I didn't get the part because I wasn't blonde enough or I wasn't this enough. It's never because I wasn't talented enough.
Yes. Has it thought ever occurred to her that maybe she didn't get the part because the talent wasn't there? She's been a victim and she's been put upon her entire life, but she is a phoenix rising above the ashes. She's just so wonderful. And we should just look upon her as just the inspiration for whatever we want to do, because she can do it all.
A piece of advice I was given years ago as an auditioning actress was, don't try to book the part, book the room. Meaning it doesn't matter if you don't get that role. You might not be right for it. You might remind the director of an ex-girlfriend that broke his heart. It could be any number of reasons. It's not about the part. You're going to see those producers and those casting directors at so many other opportunities. Book the room. Let them see that you're talented. Let them see you have something to bring to the table. Treat them with kindness. All of those relationships end up coming to fruition. You don't know when, but just like with life, relationships matter. So
this is the point that, that she worked the room. This is what she did with the royal family.
Mm-hmm.
And this is basically what defines Meghan Markle. This is Meghan Markle's MO. You work the room because you don't know when that room is going to serve you. And when then the room stops serving you, you drop them and you move on. That's what she learned. And that's what she carries through life, because look, she doesn't have any friendship. She dropped her father. Where is her black side of the family? You don't see Doria. This is very, very telling. Look at that. You work the room. And then because you never know.
And that's the angle. That's the angle.
So the kindness is fake, not because you're kind, but because you have to be in order to work the room.
And when you're working a room too, you're looking at it from the vantage point of what can you get out of that room. So when she walked into that room, her late Majesty, the Queen, the Princess Royal, and Catherine knew who they were dealing with instantaneously. I believe that. I believe as soon as they set eyes on that woman, they saw that she was an opportunist. She was there to squeeze what she could out of that title, out of that role. And of course, Harry couldn't see it.
Yeah, this is what she worked Harry. And Harry was drugged up and drinking all the time. And, so he was,
She's been documenting everything. She documented their engagement. It's really creepy, the level of manipulation that she has orchestrated behind the scenes since day one, but always setting it up as if she's this ingenue, she's this innocent, trying to compare herself to an innocent 19-year-old Lady Diana Spencer, who really was a deer in the headlights, 19-year-old child being married into that family, right? So she's just always framing herself as this innocent ingenue that didn't know. She had no idea. But then she's telling us she's a savvy person that works a room. Which personality are you today, Meghan? We cannot keep up. I have whiplash. My 12-year-old daughter, I was about to say her name, but I won't. She looks at some of this stuff and she says, Mama, how come one time she says she's not wearing makeup and then she's all dressed up and then she's doing like pick something, like who are you? I mean, even a 12-year-old can look and see that this is someone who's a poser. They're posing.
But this is something that's very telling because she doesn't have friendship. She has contact.
She has contact. She has it's all about the almighty
and
buck.
Now she's going to drop Tyler Perry because Tyler Perry is with that lawsuit and he's the godfather to Lily.
I wonder if you could rewrite your public narrative from scratch. Is there anything that you would do differently?
Yes, I would ask people to tell the truth.
You're very measured about it. I mean, I feel like, I don't know, I'm such a hothead.
That is the line that just ended Meghan Markle, in my very humble opinion, because she wants people to tell the truth. So I think that the palace should release that. I mean, Vanity Fair has come out and then why does she have NDAs if she wants people to tell the truth?
They need to be ripped up. And those people in the Survivors Club, those women in that club, they have a voice. They just have to feel empowered to use it, Paula.
But why does she have
let them
NDAs
use
if
it.
she wants people to tell the truth? Why does she
Yeah.
have NDAs?
Well, don't you remember when the four of them, when they were the Fab Four before she even married into the family, and they were on that stage when Catherine was pregnant? Women have a voice, you know, they have to find their voice and they have to be feeling empowered to use it. Well, then if that's the case, Meghan, then why don't you, like you just said, Paula, rip up those NDAs, release them and let them speak freely about their experiences with you.
I know that she's referring to the royal family, but the
Mhm.
royal family hasn't said anything about her. It's
Mhm.
Vanity Fair is the people that she was working with at Netflix, the people she was working with at Spotify. Why doesn't she sue Bill Simmons?
Yeah. Well, you have to find someone to blame. It always goes back to the royal family. They're horrible. They're rotten. She wanted to unalive herself because of them. It always goes
That's
back
way
to the
past.
blame game.
Right now, we're talking about the Vanity Fair piece. And
Mhm.
these are the 28 producers from Spotify, people
Yep.
who are working with her in the United States. This was not a
This was all
UK.
yeah.
And
This was
is
post
Vanity Fair.
UK. Yep.
The Hollywood Reporter, that
Mhm.
piece that they wrote about them, TMZ.
Yep.
I mean, how many people? I mean, Bill Simmons was pretty straightforward. The producers were pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I mean,
And she was called a dictator in high heels by American staff as well.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yep.
what is the royal family going to correct now? Because these are people in the United States who are working with her.
Right.
American companies who are working with her.
But it's like you said, when she said that, I would want them to tell the truth. She's speaking of the family there.
But what truth? Does she want that statement released? Because let's not forget, this woman committed perjury when she said that she hadn't been worked. She, under oath, wrote that she had never had any communications through any means with Carolyn Duran and Omid Scobie.
Or Omid Scobie, yep.
And it wasn't until Jason Kanoff produced all the emails and text messages that it was very clear that she had been that. Even Harry saying, yeah, because, you know, Jason Kanoff was saying, yeah. No, she didn't forget.
She forgot, Paula.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. This is like when Harry's email even was shown where it says, yeah, that's a good idea, Jason. And we're going to do it through third parties because we have to be able to put our hands in our hearts and say we had nothing to do with it. So there is premeditation, and she had to apologize to the UK courts for committing perjury. And I find that incredibly appalling that people say that the only reason she got away without going to jail for 2 years, which is that is automatic in the UK, is because she was a member of the royal family, which I find appalling.
What lies is she talking about? I'm so confused. She didn't have a voice. She's been talking since she got into the family, and even before that. So she's been out there fueling her own narrative. So what lies is she talking about? Is she talking about the lies that she's told, or is she talking about the lies that the public are talking about that she's said? I'm so confused how this woman lives her life and just navigates her day-to-day existence. She's so divorced from reality. I've said that before, but it's really scary to have no personal accountability. What lie is she referring to? What big lie?
People are telling about her.
Yeah.
Just be authentic. Did you see my baby mama dance?
I mean, stop it. First of all, can I just tell you the timing of that?
Up and down the coast are banning most visitors as COVID cases surge. Today, Dignity Health announced new limitations for guests.
And it was also the first day for Cottage Hospital's new no visitor policy. As News Channel reporter Scott Sheehan explains, there are a few exceptions.
Cases in the community, unfortunately, it's again necessary to limit visitation to protect the hospital, to protect our patients, and also to protect our staff.
COVID-19 cases are surging. Santa Barbara County Public Health has reported nearly 4,000 new cases in the last week. As a result, Cottage Health is putting a pause on hospital visits to protect frontline workers.
What? I guess she forgot when she did that video that it was 4 years ago. We just saw that this is the Santa Barbara cottage when they put bans and restrictions that visitors could not be there. And yet Harry wrote in spare that they were there. We saw that dance without any mask, and masks were mandatory. This is in May and June 2021. And it got worse again after June 15th, 2021, they kind of relaxed, which meant that you could be in certain areas outdoor without a mask, but never inside. In the hospital, you had to be in with mask and everything, and they banned visitors and stuff like that. So
especially
I guess
not in a hospital. Yeah.
So Meghan dancing without a mask, Harry dancing without a mask, her not having the hospital gown, having her jewelry. That is a blatant lie. So why does she have to say that and remind people? She wanted to clap back at people. I mean, do you think she forgot that COVID was going on because this woman is that stupid?
Well, she can't keep up with her narrative. She can't keep up with her lies and half truths. That's the problem. When you're out there saying so much garbage, you can't keep track of it.
No, that was 4 years ago. So it's also a really great reminder that with all the noise or whatever people do, there's still a whole life, a real, authentic, fun life that's happening behind the scenes. I'm just grateful that now, being back on social as well, I have a place where I can share it on my own terms.
On your own terms. And that's really, really important. You've really embraced social media. Do you enjoy it, or does it feel like a bit of a drag?
No, it doesn't feel like a drag. It feels liberating. I have to look again. What was my intention? I came back, started the account in January of this year.
Was it only January?
Yeah.
Oh,
we just heard what Meghan said, that she opened her accounts in January this year. She started her accounts in January this year, right? Did you hear that? Or am I the only one who heard that?
I heard it.
You heard it. So we're going to go here and you're going to go to about this account. They joined June 22nd.
Well, she'll put a spin on that, Paula, and she'll say, well, my team joined for me, but I didn't feel that it was right to post until January 25. Of course she'll spin it. Yeah.
She got verified in 2025, but she had that account because Serena Williams. How would Serena Williams know? I did a video about this almost 3 years ago when I reported that it was her account, and people said, no. And I show, well, why would Serena Williams be following a random account? Because, celebrities are very intentional with the people they follow. So, I mean, which lies? We go back to which lies, Meghan? Which lies is she talking about here? I've just exposed her in her lies right now. And these are
what was her handle though? So in 22 when it was
Meghan.
It was still Meghan.
Yes.
But it didn't have the verification check.
That's the only thing that I didn't have, but it was her account. And I did the video and I exposed it. I said, this is Meghan's account because Serena Williams, Kris Jenner, and other celebrities, Abigail Spencer was following her. What's his name? A bunch of people were following her. I said, this is her account. I did the video, and no, the only way that these people would follow that account if they knew it was her account. Whether she was actively posting anything, that's a different story. But she had been notifying people that she had that account for them to follow her.
And people loved Rachel Zane's wardrobe, which I was very, very involved with because I wanted it to look like a capsule that a real woman would wear, mix and match. And I was one of the only characters that re-wore pieces. But that was by design. So I knew that there was influence there. But yes, it certainly got bigger.
It really got bigger.
Got a lot bigger.
Are you comfortable with that?
I have to be. It's my life.
Yeah. You get comfortable, basically.
You get comfortable. You get to be an acceptance of what is.
Yeah.
What is it that she got used to? What is it that changed in her life that they're not saying? Remember lies by omission? What is it that you got used to, Meghan? Is it to the fact that you have an access to a huge platform in the royal family, that she's comfortable now calling herself the Duchess? That's the big elephant in the room that they both failed to address. What has changed? What was the major event in her life that changed everything? And then she tries to equate that to being in Suits.
It's also another little twisting of the actual facts. When you're 6th or 7th on the call sheet, you're probably not going to have a lot of input in what your wardrobe is. You're not one of the primary players. I think that had more to do with it. Why not say that? Why not say, hey, I went from being 6th on the call sheet to not really having any major input in the character to now I have my company where I really can share my vision blah, blah, blah.
Or influence,
See?
because she was talking about the
Yeah.
influence. How influence that
Yeah.
as soon as you wear a sweater, people, she doesn't have that influence. It's the opposite effect.
Mhm.
But it's what is it that they're not saying? Why does she have that influence?
Mhm.
Or no
Yep.
longer. She had it when she was in the royal family, but no longer, because Meghan would give her left. She would sell both her children if she would be the permanent face of Dior or Yves Saint Laurent or any major brand, but nobody wants her. But what has changed? What changed? They're both sitting there. Yeah. Okay. Why do you have that influence now, or you believe you had that influence? What has changed?
Yep. She will not acknowledge it. She clings to the titles, but then will not acknowledge them as the gift that they were.
Emma Grede is saying, how do you feel now that you married into the royal family? You have access to this major platform. Why? Isn't because, of course, everything is scripted. She's not allowed to ask that question.
No.
And this is both of them being inauthentic. And this is why Emma has now gotten a lot of backlash, because they were not willing to address the elephant in the room. Even Emma would have never given Meghan Markle the time of day were it not for the fact that she married into the royal family.
Well, how out of touch do you have to be? Has Emma not paid attention to anything going on in the culture surrounding this woman in the last month, even month or so, since the Jamie Kern Lima podcast? Do you think that Emma and her people would look at that and say, do we really want to get involved with this? Do we really want to have this woman on our show? I guess that doesn't matter. It's all these vanity metrics. She wants eyeballs on her podcast. But I don't know about you, but I'm really, really sick of these already successful, wildly successful people like her. She's worth over, I looked her up. How much is that Emma lady worth? At least 200 million, if not more, right? Am I right?
She partnered with the Kardashians and she created.
But I'm really tired. Yeah. What is compelling these already successful people to want to elevate themselves on a platform where they're talking and they're just
because they're narcissists, they don't
it's like, no one cares.
Themselves.
Take your money and go live your life, and that's it.
And currently aspiring for in your business life?
Success, not just financial success, emotional success.
Great answer. And what are you currently aspiring for in your personal life?
Success, emotional success.
That's where I want. What do you mean that she is aspiring for emotional success? Isn't she already successfully emotional, married to a wonderful man who will do anything for her? Doesn't she have a fulfilling family lifestyle?
She already said when she was on the Time 100 stage, remember, she's the happiest she's ever been. The happiest she's ever been. So get out of the prove it game and stop showing us how happy you are. Just go live your life and be happy for no one except yourself and your family. That's it.
But what does that mean to her? What do you aspire to? This is the question. What do you aspire to? And she's saying emotional success in business and in personal life, which means she doesn't have it. Because you only aspire to things you don't have in your life. If you have it already, her answer is, for my business, yes, of course, success. In my personal life, I am more than fulfilled. I have a wonderful family life. I have my beautiful kids and my husband. Emotionally, in my personal life, I'm fulfilled. Don't you think that should have been the answer?
You would think, especially since she's been banging on about how happy she's been ever since the Netflix show debuted, right? She's so happy. I'm happy. I'm happy. My supportive husband, that man loves me so much. Remember when she said that on the Jamie podcast?
What do you aspire to in your personal life?
Yeah, that man loves me so much. She doesn't know what she's looking for, Paula. She's lost. There's a lost
that means that she's
soul.
not happy. That means she's
she
not
needs
happy.
God. She needs something.
She needs an exorcism, and she needs to, and the thing is that this Emma Grede, and you know what? Before we go, I'm going to show you how many
before I
views.
stab my eyeballs, you mean that? Okay.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry, sweetie. Okay, look at this, guys. I'm going to show you something here. It doesn't even have 100,000 views, guys. And this has been since yesterday.
And you know what? You don't even have to hate Meghan Markle. I don't profess to hate the woman, but you can be critical over this horrible display that you see constantly going on. So people are going to be curious, but it's not the type of attention that they want. But she had to have known that going in. If she's savvy and she's a businesswoman and she's worked with the Kardashians and she's so this and she's so that. I mean, the Kardashians get a lot of hate too. So she's got to realize what happened. But is it worth it to her? I guess it is. Why would you want to be associated with someone as divisive as Meghan Markle? Why? This makes zero sense.
The Kardashians get hate, but not like but they're not liars like this. You know what I mean?
What
Because
you
Meghan
see is
Markle
what you
is
get from those
the
ladies.
Kardashians are very honest. I mean, literally, they're very honest. You saw Kim smacking, what's her name?
Courtney.
Whatever. You can see them putting their injections. You can see the whole thing. You know what I mean? There is some level of scriptness, but people like them, and you may hate them, but they are who they are.
And people recognize that you love them or hate them. The Kardashians never break rank. They stand up for each other no matter what. Family is everything to that family, to those women. And if you come for, and if you come for any of them, you might as well come for all of them, because they will, you know what I mean? But she has no loyalty, no tie to anybody but herself. The truth is like the sun. You could blot it out for a time, but it's always going to come out. Right? That's a really famous, I think Elvis said that, but it's true. Even she can't lie 100% of the time. Something is going to sneak out. She is unhappy. She is not happy with the level of criticism that she receives. She believes it's unjust. It's not warranted. It keeps her up at night. This woman's pacing down the halls of, well, I don't know. Do they live at the Montecito Olive Garden mansion? Who knows?
Do you think that they're, and to me, this brings, I'm broke. I don't have relationships. I am rudderless. I don't have a direction in my business, because unlike Fergie admitted that what was given her access was to Weight Watchers and everything was the royal title. So this is why Fergie knew that she was going out there exploiting the royal title. Meghan doesn't want to.
She was trying to sell access to Andrew, remember?
Oh, yeah. But what I mean is, like, Fergie was open. I'm exploiting the royal title, which is what Meghan Markle doesn't want to say, because she wants people to think that she was this successful. I mean, she's comparing 7 years in Suits and why being married to the royal family was such a big deal, because, you know, in my experiences from before, I lived through something more, you know, like that. Now they get it, all these things. So, you know, so married to the royal family.
If she were as genuine as she touts, she would have been like Chelsea Davy or what's the other one's name? Cressida. Those two girls, you know, sat down and got real with themselves. And at the end of the day, they knew they wouldn't be happy with him, and they wouldn't be happy with being married into the institution. And that was fair, and that was a mature decision to make. And they said, "No, I'm sorry."
I think they wouldn't have minded the institution, because they wouldn't have hung out with him or dated him for so long, because they knew what that meant. But I think they wouldn't have been happy with Harry and his goals. I do believe that he found in Meghan what he was looking for, which is a common enemy towards the royal family.
Well, yeah, maybe, yeah.
Cressida was excellent friends with the royal family. The same thing with Chelsea Davy. Meghan, on the other hand, was divisive and validated all his hatred and his envious and everything.
Well, that would make sense, because whenever you read about why they broke up, it's always that they didn't want to be involved in the royal fishbowl. But what you said actually makes more sense. They knew that they couldn't abide by this man being, you know, married to him.
President, when she broke up with him, she tweeted something like, "People who think that they're important, they can be very nasty."
Yes.
And I mean, Cressida is from an aristocratic family, by the way. So they've been around the royals all the time. So she knew what the deal was. So if that was the case, they wouldn't have dated him. Cressida and Chelsea wouldn't have dated Harry for 8 years, because she knew what the deal was. You know, you go, "Oh no, after like 2 weeks, no, I'm done with this." But 8 years and Cressida, so it was him, you know, so. But anyways, thanks for being here. And guys, you give us your comments, and we're looking forward to see what your reactions is. Do you think that Meghan Markle was lying, or do you think she was being truthful? Do you think she's desperate? Or do you think that to me, this was a desperate plea that she's running out of options and, she's not successful, but she wants to sell as though she is. But that's my take. What is your take on this very sorry saga? Do you think it was worth it for Emma? Because she didn't get very many views for having Meghan Markle.
Mm-mm. No. And why not go on the Mel Robbins podcast, or why not go on the Oprah podcast? Why not do another big name? Because she's not being invited, Paula. She's not being invited. I guarantee you she instigated this with Emma.
It is quite a sad thing. And to me is the most embarrassing thing. And then apparently Emma is now upset because it's backfired. She's not happy of the exposure because there is such a thing as bad publicity, unlike what people say. There is such, because if there was no such thing as bad publicity, Meghan Markle would have brands like Versace, Dior, Carolina Herrera knocking down her door.
And she's still operating like it's 2005. Like all we have access to are the magazines that are physically on the newsstands, but that's not how it is anymore. She can't succeed in a podcast format because she's hung out to dry for everyone to see. She has no authenticity. She can't tell us the truth. That's why she's failing so bad in this podcast medium, because people see right through all of her BS, unfortunately.
This never ends well, because that's another burnt bridge. She's being Markle. And join us, because we're going to start our thing with makeup and gossip, guys, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You have to teach me how to do my eyes like yours. But have a great day, guys, and thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you, Paula.
Bye, sweetie.